everybody, here we are today, we want to talk to you. You tell us.
You need to work on the intro.
So rude. Guys, what is going on? So here's this week's You Tell Us segment, where we just kind of throw out a topic, talk about what we think about it, and then ask you guys to weigh in and tell us what your feelings are, what you think about it. And this week, we're going to talk about the whole 4% penalty fee for excessively high INADs, items not as described. So first of all, what is an INAD, or what's the whole deal with that?
So an INAD is when you ship something to a customer and they determine that it is not as described. It means significantly not as described. It used to be called a SNAD. Now it's more an INAD. Item not as described, that's a category that they can choose when they choose to return something or open up a complaint about the item. So if it is different than what is photographed or what they feel like they should have received.
Yeah. And so eBay has, within this last year, been working towards really cracking down on excessive INADs. And what they basically said they were going to start doing is if you had a really high level of INADs as compared to your peers, you could
in a specific category.
Right. You could be subjected to a 4% penalty fee, basically 4% additional final value fees. Mm-hmm. And there's now when they say to your peers, that means like, you know, other sellers in the same category who have similar return policies, because of course it's going to be different if you do free returns as opposed to no returns. And so there are some categories, some return policies that are going to lead to higher false items not as described. Now I don't know that they said, so they had announced they were going to do this. Mm-hmm. Then they said they were delaying implementing
rolling out. Yep.
But then I know Chris Lynn had posted a video up saying that he had been hit with one of these. I saw a couple of other people say it. So I don't know for sure that it has actually started happening.
Across the board.
Right. So if you are a seller that has had this happen, please weigh in and comment below. Mm-hmm. But what do you think overall about this policy? What do you think about it?
So I think there's a couple of things that are problematic about it. You know, first of all, who you're being compared to and who they're considering your peers, as far as comparing apples to apples to oranges, that type of thing, is not entirely clear. Mm-hmm. So that's something that I think needs to be a little bit more transparent on eBay's end. Mm-hmm. Sure. Secondly, we all know that customers, maybe if not frequently, at least occasionally, are going to file false item not as described claims, whether it's to get a free shipping if you don't offer free return shipping, or just because I've had it happen. I've had it happen many times, and I think everyone has had it happen at least once, that a customer is going to say something's not as described for whatever reason, whether it is or it isn't. And the reality right now, you just kind of suck it up as a part of doing business, and you're just going to have to just give the refund and do the free shipping, and just know that it's going to happen every once in a while, and it's a pain. But right now there's no way to combat it.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. So if you have a significant amount of people that are claiming that it is not as described when it really is as described, and you're not able to combat that for any reason or in any way, that's a problem.
I think if there's going to be a penalty, if there is going to be a cash money penalty, they're charging you extra fees, then there needs to be some sort of way to contest a false INAD. Mm-hmm. Now, I just think that that's just the way it should be. Now, is it a rampant problem? No, I really don't think it is.
No.
Because like we both sell in categories where, I mean, it's one thing if it's like all new in-box product, but when you're selling used merchandise, there's a lot of things to be, you know, it's like what one person says is in good condition, somebody else might disagree. And it's a category where you might be more likely to get items not as described and false ones as well, particularly depending on your return policy. I do free returns, so you would think that I'd be less likely to get false INADs, but you don't do free returns. And so
I've done it both ways. So I offered free returns for 9 months, and I still received a ton of false INADs for no reason.
But you say a ton, and in the clothing category, they say the average for our peers is just under 1%. And that means that per 100 sales, maybe one sale, somebody is opening an item not as described case.
I think that's low.
And
I think that's.
But what's yours?
Honestly,
Yours
I
is-
think that's. Well, mine is relatively low. So it goes over a 90-day average. I think if you have a certain number of sales, and I think it might be a year if you have lower sales.
Something,
however, your
yeah.
dashboard is set up. So mine is a 90-day average, and I've had 2.
Right. That's.
But both of them were accurate. Were actually false INADs, but I didn't try to fight them or do anything about it because it was like, I'm like,
Yeah, but that's why they base it on your peers, because what they say is that they're taking into account the fact that yes, it does happen, but it should happen equally across all sellers. And so that's why they compare you to your peers. And so the peers, it's less, like just under 1%, and yours is like 0.4.
Yeah.
I mean, yours is way below the average. So, and that's even with having a couple of false INADs. Now, it would be nice if you could go and contest it. Mine is like a 0.3 something. So honestly, I do think that like the way that works out, I think there are a lot of sellers out there who think that they're getting false INADs, but I also think people are real bad sometimes at assessing whether something is in good condition. I have to be honest with you.
Yeah. I don't necessarily think that it is a bad idea to try to enforce better quality sellers and make the platform a better platform across the board. And monetary penalties are what makes people sit up and take notice. And that's the reality. When it hits you in your pocketbook is when you're going to notice. Or that's my New England right there, pocketbook.
If you need to buy something online, where are you more likely to go? Amazon or eBay?
Amazon.
Why?
Faster delivery, consistent delivery. They, if you don't get what you're supposed to get, they give you your money back. Almost always free returns.
So more reliable, right?
It's a lot more reliable.
Yeah.
And when I buy something, I almost always am going to buy something new. So that's why I'm going to go to Amazon.
But the reason it's more reliable is because generally, I know for me, when I'm ordering something on Amazon, I'm usually doing Prime, and it's usually something that's being shipped out by Amazon themselves, like it's the, through FBA, or that's something that they sell directly. So it's more reliable. They have more control over the quality. And that's the problem that eBay is trying to fight, is quality control, because I'm telling you, I buy stuff off of eBay, but it's very, very frequent. It's way too frequent that I'm getting stuff and it's not what I ordered.
Right.
It really happens a lot, you guys. So
it really happens a lot. So if you're somebody that buys frequently on eBay, I know that you've encountered this. Say you buy 10 things on eBay. Tell me, did all 10 of those transactions go as you expected?
Or did the seller take an extra week to ship to you? Or did they send you something that was broken?
Or did they update the tracking? Or you've got something that was pre-owned that has, a stain down the front of it that you didn't know about. Or they said it was new, but it came to you and it reeked like cigarettes.
Happens a lot.
And the reality is that you learn to expect that. And that is why eBay has such a poor reputation with buyers. If you ask your general community, ask your friends, ask your family members, put a poll on Facebook to your people that are not fellow resellers and ask, how many of you buy on eBay? Why do you or why don't you?
Yep. And I bet you'll hear a lot of stories about people saying they had bad experiences. And so that drives buyers away. So bottom line, my opinion, and I know this is an unpopular one, my opinion is that I think that there should be some sort of penalty for excessively high INADs, because I think that if you are getting more than a certain percentage of them, it's probably something that's going on with your quality control. And I think that when it comes down to it, a financial penalty is going to hopefully deal with some of those problems. So yes, I do think that this is something that should be happening. However, I do think that there are problems that need to be addressed. And I do think that it needs to be more transparent, how they determine who your peers are. And secondly, I think that there needs to be a way to contest false INADs, because even though I don't think it's this problem that people like to say it is, it's an issue. If you're going to be penalized, you should be able to, at the very least, go in somehow and contest it, whether it's calling or whatever, and have one removed.
And you know what? I'm going to say it's got to be something other than just calling. There's got to be a way for you to contest it and have a human being look at the exchange or look at the listing or something like that. Because honestly, I'm going to put it right out there. Unless you have concierge service, calling into eBay for any reason is a pain in the ass.
Yeah. And if you have an excessively high INAD percentage, before you go off on eBay about it, maybe look at your own policies. Maybe look at the way that you're doing your quality control. Are you inspecting items? Are you really taking good pictures? Are you really disclosing issues? Does your stuff smell? Maybe tighten up that quality control a little bit.
Yeah, I think that will make a difference, and I do think that imposing a penalty on people will hopefully knock off some of the sellers that probably shouldn't be selling on the platform. You know, and you know, you hear all the time people like, I'm not going to sell anymore. This isn't selling for me. That's not selling for me. There's too many fees for this. There's too many fees for that. There's nothing wrong with being a hobby seller, and there's nothing wrong with being a part-time seller. There is a problem with you being a half-assed seller, and I think that
hurts all of us.
I think that type of thing is you know, far too rampant. Because those of us that work very hard to provide a good product to our customers and work really hard to have an actual business that is profitable, whether it's on a small scale or a huge scale, we work really hard to maintain those standards. And having somebody that is a terrible seller have us lose yet another buyer from the platform hurts everybody.
Not good, guys. But anyway, bottom line, why don't you tell us what you think about it? You tell us whether it's to yell at us and tell us we're dumb and we're stupid dummies.
We get that a lot. Yeah.
Or if it's to tell us that you agree or disagree, but tell us why, what you think about it. And if you have been hit with this penalty, tell us, because we're not entirely sure that it's gone into effect yet. But I think it's something everybody wants to know about and probably has something to say about. So
yeah, you tell us. We want to know.